Alright, welcome everybody to episode 7 of the TheDomCast, and yes, today's episode is being posted on Sunday and not Saturday. I apologize for that. Had a huge logjam with videos because at the same time of trying to keep up with schedules, I was trying to clean off my computers because I was getting really sick of the hard drives just filling up out of nowhere. Didn't know what was going on, so I had to get everything organized, had to go buy hard drives and all that. So I put the questionnaire out yesterday, and that means I am still getting questions, as a matter of fact, because the thing doesn't disappear for 24 hours, so maybe some will pop up while I am reading. And I'm gonna try to get more questions if I can today by reading straight from the questionnaire itself. Alright, so we're coming in hot already. Raphael is asking, did Pau Gasol save Kobe Bryant's legacy in Game 7 of the 2010 NBA Finals? The answer is no, he did not. And for anybody buying into that narrative, especially if you're too young to have watched that finals, no, nobody saved anybody's legacy in 2010. Not only did I attentively watch that entire series because I was so pumped as a Celtics fan that year. We came in as a 4 seed. I had been telling everybody they were coming out of the East. I felt like I was the only voice in the world that believed in them at the time. I maintained that entire year that Cleveland was not deep enough, that we were going to beat Orlando, and I was on the edge of my seat that entire series. And specifically in Game 7, the thing that always gets lost for whatever reason is that was such a defensive affair. The tensions were high, nerves were running. Nobody really had a good Game 7. I don't understand why. I guess you know what, I actually get it. It's just like how people complain about LeBron James being held to a higher standard today. Because of Kobe's greatness, he's held to a high standard, and he had a terrible shooting night, so I get it. That's why you don't also talk about Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, even Pau Gasol. Pretty much nobody having a good shooting night. So nobody shot well in that game. Lakers as a whole missed a ton of free throws. Kobe shot 6 of 24, Gasol shot 6 of 16. That was just a really muddy game, and the Lakers by the end of it were just doing everything they needed to survive. Everybody played their part. Gasol had that extra important tip in, which we later found out that should have been a violation because his feet hit the ground before he let go of the ball, but would have been impossible for the referees to see that in real time. Ron Artest hit the ultra important 3. Kobe Bryant hit that shot at the top of the key when they were gaining some momentum. I think that gave them a 4-point lead in a game where points were just extremely hard to come by. He also had 15 rebounds that game. That was just a thing where literally everybody pitched in, total team effort in a very difficult game. Yeah, no, nobody walked away from that game saying, wow boy, this dude just saved Kobe's legacy. Now, they might have walked away from that game saying Kobe dodged a bullet though, just because of the standard that he is held to. We do know that if he would have lost to the Celtics for a second time in 3 years, and he would have done it while shooting 6 of 24, then yeah, that would have crippled his legacy. But no, nobody saved anybody. I still have the Game 7 tape. I watch it from time to time because that just might be my favorite game in NBA history, even though the Celtics lost. That was just such a grinded out affair. That's what a Game 7 of the NBA Finals should be. Everything that you needed to have in that type of game, that game had it. So there's your answer for that. Let's go ahead and get a current one in. Johnny is asking, how far can the Celtics make it into the playoffs? You will constantly hear from me years from now, if you're still watching my videos. You'll always hear me referring to the 2019 season as just one of the most frustrating things I ever went through, because the Celtics team has had no consistency the whole year. They've played this entire season in streaks. They've had times where they were really good and we were like, oh yep, there goes the Celtics that we all expected during the summer. They have stretches where they're really bad and we're like, if the Pacers had Oladipo, they might lose to them in the first round. Then they go on another stretch where you're like, wow, this Celtics team could probably take the Warriors to 7. There is just no consistency. The one thing I will say though that they've gotten better at that was really bothering me throughout the year is it seems like they're handling losing better these days, probably because we're at the end and we know that the seeds are kind of locked in. We already know who we're playing in the first round. It will be Indiana. But the thing that bothered me the whole year was like, it just seemed like they could not handle losing. Things would be going really good and everyone was like, the Celtics are back. Then they would lose and you would hear this stuff about them not having fun. And everyone's giving these answers to the media like, I don't know, ask this guy. Or, oh, that's his opinion. Like, there was just so much like tension every time they would lose. And so at a certain point throughout the year, I kind of stopped expecting them to make a deep run. Because the thing was, like I just talked about the 2010 Celtics, I expected them to go to the finals the whole year. I never wavered. They were a 500 team in the second half of the year. Like, that's the funny part. Going into the playoffs was their worst part of the year. And I'd never wavered because that team was so composed. We had a lot of veterans and they could handle losing. You knew it was not the end of the world for KG, Ray Allen, and Pierce if they lost some games or if they went on a bad streak. You knew that those guys were composed and they were going to go to the playoffs and do what they needed to do. So I was never worried about that. So the difference with this Celtics team is they are talented, right? Maybe still on paper the most talented team in the Eastern Conference. They at least have that debate. But I just don't feel the same presence that I felt with the 2010 Celtics. That presence of this team has everything figured out. Everyone knows their roles. So you don't get that feeling that they could lose the rest of their games this season and then get to the playoffs and just snap it on and figure it all out. I don't have that feeling with them. And that is why, as far as like giving you a straight answer, fam, I have no clue what the Celtics team is going to do in the playoffs. It just depends on which one shows up. If the one that blew out the Warriors about 2 or 3 weeks ago, if that one shows up, then I have no doubt in my mind that they could still make the NBA Finals. If the other version shows up, they might get taken to 7 by an Oladipo-less Indiana Pacers. I'm not so low on them that I think they're going to lose to the Pacers in the playoffs. Not that the Pacers aren't a good team, because to be honest, they've really proven themselves. Even without Oladipo, everyone expected them to have this major slide, and to this point, it just never happened. So I'm not expecting them to lose to the Pacers in the first round. The best answer I could give you is second round at worst, NBA Finals at best. They're way too talented for me to just cut them out of finals conversations. And the other thing is, if you look at the Milwaukee Bucks right now, they're dealing with a lot of injury issues, and as far as their depth chart, they're not getting Brogdon back until maybe the second round of the playoffs. Mirotic has to make a return. Their rookie, I can't really pronounce his name, I don't forgot it, but he's completely out. So we're looking at the Celtics and the Pacers jockey for position in the between the 5th and the 4th seeds right now. I would slightly prefer that they get the 5th seed, because getting the 5th seed means that they would meet the Milwaukee Bucks in the second round, and to be honest, I would rather play them where they've dealt with some injury issues and they might be slightly weakened. I would rather deal with them in the second round than Toronto. I really would. I just think for their best chance to get to the NBA Finals, it might be better if the path goes Indiana, Milwaukee, and then Toronto. So we'll see. I still have no clue who's making the finals in the East. It's not clear cut, and that's why I'm so excited this year. There's just no clear answer, and the NBA always works better that way. Tino is asking, do you think Harden deserves to be ranked over Wade? Because I've been seeing it happen. No, that is recency bias you're seeing happen right now. Look, I don't have the old head syndrome where I'm just never ever gonna rank a current player over a past player, but I can actually explain why I would not put Harden over Dwyane Wade right now. Right now, it's a simple case of people just forgetting how great Dwyane Wade actually was. You're seeing Harden right now, you're seeing him drop 50 every other night. Of course, don't forget this isn't an era where offense has went. It's completely unchained now, so that definitely plays a role. The thing is, Harden is an amazing player, but before we just start putting him over certain people, you really have to have him go into the playoffs and really just put his name on some things. Because to this point, he hasn't. So far, Harden's playoff legacy is not coming up in the biggest moments. The finals when he was with OKC, last year when they had a 3-2 lead, which they had a double-digit lead at halftime of both of these games, I believe, but he was not having his signature moments in either of those games. The year that Kawhi Leonard was out, but the Spurs still finished the Rockets on their home court, and James Harden had a miserable performance. Look, especially before he just eclipses somebody like Dwyane Wade, he's got to get to the playoffs and he's got to put his name on one of these games or a couple of these games. You can go to my second channel, and because I can already hear people saying, oh, well, the 2006 finals were rigged, because you probably knew that's where I was going with Wade. But I did a whole video with the footage showing what Dwyane Wade was doing to put the defense in certain positions that really was making Dallas foul him most of the time. People who say that finals was rigged, I think a lot of it is just saltiness, and people who didn't watch the series, and it's been one of those things. It's like NBA lore that's just caught on. But if you go back and watch the footage, you really see that Dwyane Wade, he just took that series over. He made incredibly smart decisions, and he had Dallas's defense at his will. He took that series over from, game 3 through the rest of the way out. Wade's name is on that series, one of the best finals performances ever. In 2011, if they had won, he would have been finals MVP. Had a great series against the Celtics that year, was a big reason that the Heat won in 5. Yeah, no, he's not going over Wade just yet. And again, I'm not one of the people saying, oh, it can never happen, because Dwyane Wade's name has it has so much power behind it, right? That you might just say, oh, Harden is never going to pass him. I'm not a never guy. I don't ever say this player can never pass this player, because Harden's got a while to go. but the way that James Harden just puts his names on seasons like he did last season, like he's trying to do right now, there's got to be some playoff series where he does that. And notice this has been without me even talking about the individual players that they are. Dwyane Wade wasn't always out there dropping a flashy 50 points the way Harden does these days, but Dwyane Wade was a bad MF. And we're talking about before LeBron James and them came. We're talking about when he was on teams where he didn't have a whole bunch of shooters everywhere to dish to. There was a lot of years where he was elite on both offense and defense. Yes, elite on both sides. Harden is not as bad as he used to be. He's actually making a name as a great low post defender these days. But of course, he's not known as elite on both sides. So give Harden some time. Let him go through some more playoffs. Let's see what he does. But no, at the moment, I just believe if someone's putting Harden over Wade, I think that's recency bias. And that's a very, very strong thing when when Wade is on his way out and he's retiring and we're cheering for basically anything he does, and then Harden's on the other side dropping 50, of course you're gonna go ahead and say, oh damn, was this guy ever better than Harden? That's a recency bias. Next question asks, do you ever get called a bandwagon Celtics fan? No, not once in my life. And the time for that has expired anyways. I've went through a rebuild stage with this team. I stuck with them. Only time anyone could have called me a bandwagon fan would have been about 12 years ago when I when I found myself being a Celtics fan once they brought in KG and Allen. But the story behind that, story behind that is I really was not that hard of an NBA fan before the Boston Celtics. It goes way back to when I became a basketball fan when I was in the 3rd grade, but I was just more of a basketball fan back then. I liked the jerseys and stuff. I liked to play the game. And since I was in Orlando, I latched on to the team that was here, the Orlando Magic. And then right in the beginning of that process, like within a year of me starting to like basketball and attaching myself to the Magic and Tracy McGrady, the Magic traded him. T-Mac was traded to Houston. We got some guys back that I hadn't even heard of at that time. And because of that, I lost interest in NBA basketball for about 3 years. I would pop my head in for the playoffs. So of course, the 06 finals and the 06 Eastern Conference finals, I watched a lot of that with the Miami Heat. The 07 finals with the Cavs and Spurs, and actually the Eastern Conference finals as well when they played against the Pistons. I watched a lot of that. I would basically poke my head in at the end of all these seasons to see what was going on in the playoffs. And I was a kid back then, so I was preoccupied by a lot of other things, cartoons, toys, you know, all that good stuff. And then this summer of 07, KG and Ray Allen get traded to Boston. I told my dad, oh, they're going to win the championship automatically. He's like, nah, I think the Spurs are going to win it. So then we made a bet and I became a Celtics fan. That's exactly how that happened, and I have not left since then. So technically, I wasn't even a bandwagon back then because, again, when I became a Celtics fan, I didn't have a team. I had been gone from Orlando. Like, when they traded T-Mac, I just went back to Dragon Ball Z and Toonami. I was like, man, to hell with this. And then the Celtics got me back into basketball. So if someone wanted to call me a bandwagon fan back in 07, I guess they would have had somewhat of an argument. But 12 years later in 2019, I haven't even come close to repping another team. And yeah, I think it's kind of ingrained in me now. I don't think for the rest of my life. Unless the Celtics go on some bullshit like the Kings, you know, where they just don't make the playoffs forever and they're making dumb decisions that just drive fans away. Maybe then it could happen, but nah, I will probably be bleeding green for the rest of my life. Drama Gang is asking, with Manu getting his jersey retired, who's the best player to not have his jersey retired? And luckily, I just tweeted about this about 3 weeks ago, so I had it sitting on the edge of my mind anyways. The answer, I think, is Ray Allen. And the reason that was even on my mind is because me and some friends were actually talking about it. We talk about random basketball stuff whenever we get together. And it came to me, Ray Allen, is he gonna get his number retired anywhere? Because think about it. He started with the Bucks at number 34. Of course, if number 34 is retired, that's going to be Giannis, and that's such an awkward situation because Ray Allen was a great player for them, but I guess since he didn't stay long or whatever, that's not going to happen, so Giannis will be the 34 retired there. The whole thing with Seattle and OKC is really confusing, but I'm going to say unless they have a franchise that comes back into existence, Ray Allen's not getting his jersey retired for the Thunder. He never played for them. That would just be a really weird ceremony. He didn't play for the city, didn't play in that building, like that's just really weird. So, and plus he never really accomplished anything in Seattle, so that's not gonna happen. I don't know if Boston's gonna retire his number. People try to give him a pass because he was at the end of his career, but the same thing that Kevin Durant did to the Oklahoma City Thunder is the same thing that Ray Allen did to Boston. Now, of course, there were different reasons. Ray Allen was he was a bit more pissed with the Celtics for trying to trade him and cutting his minutes and all of that. So his was a bit more justified than Durant, but We lost to the Miami Heat in the midst of a very heated rivalry that was going on for a few years between big threes. Then he left and crossed enemy lines like right in the middle of it. We lost game 7 in the conference finals, and then he went over there to the Miami Heat. Tensions are still high about that. As early as what, last year? 2 years ago? Wow, time is actually flying. That was actually 2 years ago where the Celtics were talking about that, and they were having a get together and they didn't invite Ray Allen. And I know Paul Pierce, I think he's gotten over it. I believe he invited Ray Allen. They took a picture together or something, but I don't know about the rest of the Celtics if they're cool, like KG. I know Glenn Davis was still mad about it. Guys are still mad at him for that. Like, that's a... They feel betrayed. So I'm not sure if they're ever going to get past that and if the Celtics franchise is going to retire his number. That leaves the Miami Heat. And he has the greatest shot in franchise history and the greatest shot in NBA history, of course, in Game 6 of the 2013 finals. But did he do enough in Miami? Is that enough to have his jersey retired there? I mean, Pat Riley retired Michael Jordan and Jordan never played there, but that's Jordan. I don't know if he's going to retire Ray Allen there for basically for a shot. I know that's not all he did, but that's, if you were retiring his jersey, that would be why you did it. So at the moment, he doesn't have his jersey retired anywhere. And as you see, that's a legitimate thing that could happen. He may not have it retired anywhere. I do sense though that maybe let another 10 years pass, just let some time pass. I think he has a chance with the Celtics. Like, if he died today, I'm pretty sure the Celtics would honor him and retire his jersey. I'm not going to say it's never going to happen in Boston because there are definitely scenarios where that could happen. Giovanni is asking, who do you think has a better situation during free agency, the Knicks or Clippers? That is actually a good one because if you follow my second channel, you've seen the barbershop talks, and I have routinely been talking about how the Knicks may get somebody. James Dolan came out and he may have been bluffing, but he did go on record saying agents were already telling them their players were coming there. Of course, we know it's New York, it's the mecca of basketball, so while they've been terrible for a really long time, that does not mean a couple of superstars can't go there. However, throughout this process, the Clippers are being slept on. They're in the playoffs this year, they have a good core, they're going to have cap space this summer, and they're in Los Angeles. So while they are always the little brother to the Lakers, they actually may be a bit more attractive right now than both the Lakers and the Knicks. You look at the Lakers right now and you're saying, okay, I'm going to go here for the little bit of time that LeBron James is here, and then that's going to be it. You go to the Knicks and maybe you don't like the management over the last decade. Maybe you don't like that you're starting from zero there right now because are they gonna even win 20 games this year? That team is basically scorched earth. So if you're a superstar, you have to say, okay, I'm going here with another superstar, then who are they gonna put around us? The Clippers, however, they've got pieces already. They've got cap space. They're a lot closer than the other two teams. I don't know, the Clippers might have an upper hand that nobody's talking about. It's just like how the Nets have great pieces right now and are jockeying for a playoff spot and will have space for a superstar this summer. There's some pretty slept on destinations, and I guess it's just because of the franchise, right? Whoever goes to the Clippers, when you think about them, you think about being cursed. Of course, things are better these days. They don't have Donald Sterling anymore. They just have a much better direction overall. So yeah, the only reason the Clippers aren't being talked about that way, it's solely because they're the Clippers. But they low-key have a better situation than the Knicks and Lakers, really. And for the last question, we're talking about if Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum are ever going to reach their full potential on this Celtics roster. I can't speak for Jaylen Brown, but for Jayson Tatum, no. Honestly, that's what's so difficult about this Celtics team, is that I don't think it's built in a way that's good for guys who aren't already really established. I think that's why Hayward has struggled with his comeback. This year we were asking Hayward to come back from one of the most gruesome injuries, and you go to this team where you were supposed to be a second option, and now you're trying to find your shots in the midst of Kyrie Irving, Terry Rozier, Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford. You see where I'm going with this? So you're a young guy like Jayson Tatum who's trying to find his way in the league. It's really as simple as he's going to need more reps, I think, to actually reach his potential. And again, that's just not going to happen on this Celtics team. I don't think so. That's actually why I do not mind if we trade him for Anthony Davis this summer, if we trade him in a deal for Anthony Davis. It's because I just don't see a team where Kyrie Irving and Jayson Tatum, I don't see Tatum becoming the Tatum that we all imagine him to be on this team with him. I don't. Tatum loves pull-up jumpers, he loves mid-range jumpers, off the dribble shots. Like, that's his thing. And so for him to be able to just really go wild and develop into a superstar through the use of those type of tools, I really think it's going to happen on a team where he can kind of develop and take everything over, like he can really be the guy. And I don't doubt that we're going to see that sooner or later. Or who knows, maybe the Celtics team changes, maybe Kyrie leaves and then Jayson Tatum does become the guy. Whatever it is, this Celtics roster is not built for it. This is a team where you're trying to synthesize a lot of talent to win an NBA championship. It is not about a guy emerging as a superstar. And that will be all the questions for today. Next week's episode should premiere on Saturday as normal. I forgot to mention at the beginning, if you're new here, you can listen to this on Spotify and on iTunes. The link for both of those is in the comment section and the description. Hit the like button, comment, and sub if you enjoyed, and hit the bell next to the channel name if you want notifications when this comes out every week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.